Good morning, it's Dr. Cindy again, coming to you with this week's mental health moment. Last week, I talked about how we all come into this world needing three things: care, compassion, and connection. And today, I want to focus on connection and how we can increase this for ourselves and for one another, despite the physical separation we are experiencing. Now, loneliness in our country was already on the rise prior to COVID and was itself recognized as a public health issue by some experts. Chronic loneliness has been found to contribute to numerous cognitive, physical, and mental health problems. But loneliness isn't based solely on how many people we have in our social circle or how much time we spend with others. We can have social contact, but still not feel connection. The quality of our relationships and our social interactions is important, and there are few things that we can do to feel truly connected to others. Now, the first thing I'm going to suggest is reaching out. This might sound obvious, but I find that many people actually often struggle to do this. I often hear concerns about not wanting to bother others, thinking people are too busy to talk, or worrying about being a burden on them because everyone has problems of their own. Now, while it's admirable to be respectful of the time and emotional resources of others, it's not fair or even necessarily accurate to assume what their availability, willingness, or capacity to talk to you might be. Now, if you don't believe this, think of the reverse situation. If someone you knew and cared about was sitting at home feeling isolated and alone, you would want them to reach out to you. And if they didn't reach out because they didn't want to disturb you, you would be upset that you were not even given that chance to be supportive. I also want you to consider that it is emotions and the sharing of emotions that connects us to other people. That gets back to the contact versus connection distinction. If you think about the people that you feel the closest to and the experiences that you've had that have made you feel close to them, there's likely been some type of exchange of emotion that has facilitated that. Superficial conversations are just not fulfilling. They might briefly take the edge off of loneliness, but ultimately they will not really give us what we need. It's like the difference between having junk food versus a healthy meal. Both will decrease your hunger, but only the healthy one will truly nourish and sustain you. Now, another way we often don't give people a chance to be there for us is by playing out in our heads how we think the phone call or the conversation might go, and then convincing ourselves not to go ahead and initiate it. And now, I'm sorry, but having a conversation with someone in your head does not count as social connection or contact. And when we do that kind of thinking out, it perpetuates our perception that we are all alone. So rather than imagining what you think will happen if you have a phone call or a conversation with someone, think about what you're looking for from them. A conversation has a much better chance of feeling rewarding and fulfilling when both people are clear about its purpose. So for example, if you call a friend and say you're calling to see how they're doing, but you really want to talk about you, then you'll find yourself feeling dissatisfied at the end of the conversation because what happened? They ended up talking about themselves, which you essentially invited them to do. Even worse, when you hang up from that call, you'll file that away as a negative experience, which will make you less likely to reach out again in the future. So it's important to be open and direct about what we're looking for. If you're needing an opportunity to vent, say so. If you'd like some advice or an opinion, say so. If you really are just wanting to hear the other person's voice and catch up for a bit, then tell them that. It's even okay to say, I'm feeling a little lonely and was hoping we could chat for a while. Once you know what you're looking for in the phone call, it is also important to consider what people in your life are most likely to be able to provide that. If you're wanting a chance to vent, it doesn't make sense to reach out to a friend who loves to give advice. That's the person you want to turn to when you're looking for ideas about how to solve a problem. If you're looking for just an enjoyable diversion and a chance to distract yourself from the serious issues of the world, try to talk to that goofy, lighthearted friend of yours who always knows how to make you laugh. But probably don't call that person if you're struggling with some challenging emotions that you're hoping to get support for. At those times, it's very important to reach out to people you know to be compassionate listeners. And we have to be willing to meet people where they are. Some truly do not know how to respond to feelings. They might really care about you and genuinely want to be there for you, but they just don't have the comfort level or the tools to effectively do so in a way that you might be needing. Now, if they're the only ones available and you really need someone to share tough feelings with, by all means, go ahead and reach out. But be clear for yourself and with them about what they have to offer and what you're looking for. If you can go into it accepting what their limitations are and setting up the phone call in such a way that will reduce your frustration, that will make it feel more rewarding. So, for example, you could call and tell them you're having a tough time and are hoping that they will just listen to you for a bit. Even people who don't know how to be comforting can be a listening ear, and they will appreciate and probably even feel relieved if they know that that's what you're asking of them. Another barrier that keeps people isolated is what I call keeping score. I often hear some version of, I'm always the one to reach out, or why don't they ever call me? And when we get caught up in those kinds of thoughts and think, well, if they really cared about me, then they would call, we're essentially creating a love test that our loved ones and friends are bound to fail. And that also, again, leaves us feeling even more lonely and isolated and unsupported and unloved. It's not fair or helpful to expect that anyone else should know that you would like to hear from them. In fact, when people don't reach out to us, it's often because they are grappling with the same barriers that make us reluctant to do so. People can't know you want connection with them unless you tell them. And if you don't hear from them, it doesn't mean they don't care. The bottom line is that if we are lonely and want support, it is up to us to take the initiative to reach out. Now, having said that, I would encourage everyone to assume that all of us are being affected in some way by these difficult times. So don't assume that no news is good news when it comes to people you care about. If you have the energy and resources to extend yourself to them, by all means, reach out in some way to let them know you're thinking of them or to check in on them. If you just can't get past the concern that you might be intruding on someone by calling them, consider scheduling a time to connect. That ensures that they will be available and willing. Now, this could happen as effortlessly as shooting them a text and saying, can we set up a call soon? I would really love to talk to you. And whenever you have that call, it's okay to ask them if they would be willing to schedule another time. Just knowing that you have a time to set up to talk with someone can help you get through some of the loneliness you might be feeling at other times in the course of the week. Try to have contact with at least one person from the outside world every single day. These do not have to necessarily be lengthy conversations. It can be a brief text exchange or even sending a smile emoji with an I wanted to say hi or hope you have a good day message. These are simple expressions of love and caring that, when done regularly, can sustain us through this time of not easily being able to have face-to-face contact with others. Try to approach communication without expectation. This can be incredibly challenging, but if we sit and wait for a response to a text we've sent, then we will likely feel neglected or ignored as time passes and hurt and disappointed if we don't receive a reply. When we text someone without expecting a response and solely as a way to express caring, then we have instantly connected the minute we hit that send button and can feel good about sharing a bit of love with the other person. Also, try to be forgiving if a friend doesn't respond, or if they don't follow through with a plan, or even if a phone call doesn't go in the way that you hoped it would. When we can accept others for whatever their limitations are and give them the benefit of the doubt that they will give what they feel able to give, then we can appreciate whatever they have to offer rather than begrudging them for what they do not. So the other way to establish connection is going within. This might sound counterintuitive because it sounds like it would make us feel even more lonely and isolated. But I'm not suggesting that you go inside your thoughts, think about how lonely you are, think about how you're not spending time with other people. Our minds are typically not a good place to dwell when we're having a tough time and want to feel connected to others. I'm actually encouraging you to get out of your head and into your heart. We talked a little bit last time about the importance of the heart in helping to turn off thoughts that don't serve us well and in giving us a sense of connection to the larger world. The wisdom within our hearts and the energy of it is what connects us to others, connects us to ourselves, to family, to friends, to the whole world and the whole universe, really. Our hearts are where we feel the love that we have for others and the love that we receive from others. And that makes it a very beneficial avenue for remembering that we are not alone. Now, love is energy, and the heart is a powerful transmitter of this energy. Research has shown that the energy of love actually travels faster than the speed of light at more than 186,000 miles per second. It radiates out everywhere within and from all of us. So right now, I'd like to take a few moments to harness the power of that collective energy that is within us and among us to help you feel connected in a more meaningful way. So please close your eyes and place your hand on your heart. Feel the way that it beats steadily beneath your palm, beneath your fingertips. Take a few slow, deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling as fully as possible. And as you do so, imagine that you are breathing in through your heart and out through your heart. In through your heart and out through your heart. Now please think of a time when you felt love. It might be a particular person that comes to mind or an experience that you had. Whatever it is, reflect on that memory and feel that love within your heart. And as your heart fills with the sensation of love, notice the energy that it brings. Imagine that energy as a light within and one that flows from your heart throughout your entire body. As your body becomes infused with that light, it begins to radiate outside of you, throughout the room that you're in, among and around whoever else might be near you right now, throughout the entire space. As your heart continues to pump the light and energy of love, it reaches beyond your immediate area. It travels in every direction, across the neighborhoods around you, over and through surrounding towns. It stretches throughout whatever state or region you are living in, as well as bordering areas. And imagine that this love is filling the hearts of everyone in your community, friends, family, neighbors. It reaches all of our faith leaders and counselors who are providing spiritual and emotional inspiration and support during this challenging time. It is touching the hearts of all of our medical personnel, caregivers, and other staff in hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes as they work so hard to care for everyone who is afflicted with COVID or experiencing other medical challenges. It reaches those who have the virus as their bodies valiantly fight to heal and recover from what they are going through. It reaches their friends and family members, soothing their worries and helping them feel connected to their ailing loved ones, even though they cannot physically be with them. Your love is touching the teachers who saw their students through a challenging spring and are now gearing up to do the same this school year. It reaches the many essential workers who have been risking their own health to provide needed services for all of us. It fills the hearts of all who are out protesting in the streets, focusing them on our common humanity as they speak out against brutality and injustice. This love soothes the hearts of protesters and law enforcement alike, especially those who may be struggling to remain peaceful in the midst of these gatherings. As they experience this love, all are reminded that we were created to love and appreciate and value one another, and that there are no enemies. The love you are generating right now is covering the country with radiant light that touches each and every heart along the way. It provides comfort to our friends on the West Coast dealing with raging fires and the loss of lives and property, and to the firefighters who are so bravely working to contain them. This love soothes all the children on the southern border who are scared and confused and lonely and missing their parents and families, and children who are returning to their schools in the midst of this public health crisis. It comforts anyone who is hurting or struggling in some way. Victims of violence, abuse, poverty, pollution, depression, despair, and trauma in its many forms, those who are dealing with medical issues, financial burdens, or the loss of a loved one, and the many who are experiencing loneliness and isolation. And this love opens the hearts of all of those who feel so hurt and angry and afraid that they seem to have forgotten how to love because their pain has made them hate. Our leaders in Washington and elsewhere are infused with this love, encouraging them to use their positions to lift up and care about all of our people here and in other countries, as well as the planet on which we live. It reminds them that they were elected by us to be in service to us, and that all decisions they make should be based on that. Every heart that is touched by this love awakens to its own power and begins to also radiate this wonderful life energy. As it extends throughout our entire country, it flows on to the rest of the world, reaching every person, every heart, in every location. As each heart is touched, so it is opened and transformed. Every living thing receives this amazing force. Even the trees and the grass, the birds and the animals feel this wonderful love flow over and through them. As you bask in the warmth and glow of this love, feel the energetic connection that exists among us all. If seen from outer space, our world would seem to shine with radiant light, as bright and all-encompassing as the sun. And as you prepare to open your eyes, thank your heart for the love that it allows you to both give and receive. Recognize the amazing, life-affirming energy that it generates, and set the intention to honor this powerful force by sharing it as often and as fully as you possibly can. To anyone, to everyone, anytime, and always. And we close this exercise taking comfort in the knowledge that we can always connect to our hearts and the love it contains whenever we ourselves are needing the reminder that we are never truly alone. Thank you. Take care and stay connected.